Thank you very much. It's my heavy responsibility to introduce to you not only our second topic, but also our speakers, Marc Lalande and Eileen McMahon. To begin with, we'll have a look at the topic, but I'd also rest assured we do have in place a second National Pharmaceutical Congress Worldwide Federation Prize, but I would just like to share with the winners. I think it's part of the understanding of the organizers that the winners will in fact be wearing that particular belt for the duration and on the property precinct. So I'd ask the winners to please respect that particular protocol. We begin, as you can see, with the topic, which I'll read with your indulgence and permission. Be it resolved that this House believes corporate intellectual property rights and worldwide human health initiatives must always be mutually exclusive concepts. So I would invite you to consider that. And for the affirmative, j'ai le plaisir maintenant de vous introduire Monsieur Marc Lalande. Marc Lalande is a learning and change consultant, well-versed in the pharmaceutical industry from 1984 onwards, having had various increasingly leadership roles at Abbott, GSK, Berlex, and he's an expert facilitator in bringing to bear evidence and knowledge within the pharmaceutical industry. Pour le contre, for the against or negative side, we have Eileen McMahon, who is a partner at Torrey's, the law firm, and specializes in intellectual property and food and drug regulatory practices. And I must say, in contradistinction to the flurry of email exchanges, as I mentioned to you earlier during debate one, we had, I would say, a very brief and very civilized email exchange here. And I think, Eileen, that was likely due to you because, of course, when you know that there's a senior partner at a major Canadian law firm on the receiving end of those particular emails, that likely had a calming and inhibitory effect on our expression. In any case, I would now invite you to please vote on the particular topic, the separation of church and state, human health initiatives versus corporate intellectual property. You may begin. Now, I'm not sure if this is statistically even possible, but for those of you who will recall, that's the precise score of debate one, and I'm beginning to wonder if it's on some form of autopilot. But in any case, to present now, I'd invite Marc Lalande, who has 5 minutes to be followed and rebuttals afterward. I believe they've just instantaneously agreed to change positions. Fair enough. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And the result of our lack of emails is that I'd like to take the affirmative position, if I might, and Marc has kindly agreed to take the negative. So here we go. Thank you very much for coming today, and this will add a surprise element to the vote as well. I want to be clear as I start off, worldwide human health initiatives are a good thing. As Canadian citizens, as good corporate citizens, we would want to support worldwide human health initiatives. With respect, what we don't want to do is expropriate corporate intellectual property rights to accomplish those objectives. And I'm going to take you through 4 reasons today why I think the affirmative position is the right one. There are other reasons, but I'll focus on these 4. First, by voting in the affirmative, you are voting to support innovation. As part of patent rights, there's a bargain. The bargain of the government is that the innovator will make full disclosure of their invention so that others, competitors, can use that disclosure to further innovate. And in exchange for that, the government grants exclusivity. That's the patent exclusivity. And so by voting in the affirmative, you're voting to support innovation. Innovation in the pharmaceutical sector, which will result not only in good human health nationally, but human health initiatives internationally. And I'll take you through some reasons later in the presentation why I believe that. So voting in the affirmative for the first part supports innovation. Second, voting in the affirmative is the fair solution. It is not discriminatory. If we were to single out the pharmaceutical industry, to say your intellectual property rights are to be exploited here, are to be expropriated in order to pursue worldwide health initiatives, we're singling out pharma. Is the financial services industry's IP rights exploited or expropriated to reach financial stability? Are food companies' intellectual property rights exploited to combat obesity? Those are some examples of how industries should be treated fairly across IP rights. And with respect, in the pharma industry, the IP rights should be granted to them as well. Third, let's learn from history. In the past, we've tried to use IP rights to accomplish worldwide health initiatives. Canada's access to medicine regime is one example. And it's acknowledged that that's failed. Dr. Kohler, a professor at University of Toronto, and multiple other authors have indicated that exports of drugs to third world countries have failed as a result of this attempt to expropriate IP rights to accomplish worldwide health initiatives. And Canada is not the only country where this has failed. Attempts were made to introduce laws in the Netherlands, Norway, India, China, and Europe. There have been no exports. So let's learn from history and let's realize that a legislative approach of exploiting or expropriating IP rights is not the solution. So fourth, let's vote in the affirmative and recognize the solution. What is the solution? With respect, non-legislative initiatives. Let's involve the electorate. Let's ask voters how would they like to spend their tax dollars in order to support worldwide human health initiatives. Foundations, tax incentives, expropriating IP rights once the patents have expired. So for those 4 reasons, I'm asking you to support the affirmative. Innovation, it's fair, we are learning from history, and we're involving the voters. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Legal Counsel McMahon for her presentation. I sense that there is some sort of enforced collegiality happening, as it's not in my experience that the affirmative and negative have actually switched positions and speaking orders so far at the last minute. Maintenant, j'invite Monsieur Marc Lalonde pour le négatif.
Thank you. I'd like to first thank Mitch for putting me in this hot seat. Actually, a couple of minutes ago during the break, I was overhearing conversations in the men's room, and it looks like Mitch have asked pretty much everyone else before I accepted. So I'd like to follow up with a few disclaimers. First, I'm not a lawyer, and actually my legal advisors suggested I be very careful today. I even seek for advice for Stephen Harper, speechwriter, but I guess he had a full job these days. Also, I'd like to speak from the bottom of my heart and use some common sense on this issue. Also, for the record, I've worked for patented medicines companies and related organizations for the last 25 years. And for the last 2.5, I've been conducting learning and change consultative work for those organizations. And also, even dogs at home take only branded medicines. So in preparing for this entertaining debate, I asked myself, who I'm going to pretend to be today, and I decided to be one of the many people who have recently lost their job in the healthcare industry. And what kind of arguments would I use to justify my today's position? So at times when I look at intellectual property, I look at it as almost a race for being first. The first to be recognized, and pretty much the one that blocks market entries for the others. Maybe you've noticed, you too, that every day, somewhere, someone invents something on its own. For example, I never quote myself because I'm always afraid that someone has already said it or figured it out before me. And if it's not the case, hurry up and get it patented before someone else does it. Let me ask the crowd, who in your opinion has the greatest merit? The true innovative mind or the one who came up with the the first quote or the first patent. There's three scenarios I'd like to bounce off to you regarding the intellectual property that I find somewhat awkward. The first one is we pay more for our medicines during the patent protection to allow recuperating the investment, the cost of research. I'm okay with that. The second one I'm much less comfortable with is with the arrival of generic products, it usually lowers the price, and unfortunately the savings are not always passed to the patient. It somewhat increased the level of profit for pharmacists. And there's one last scenario, totally fictive, but still puzzling. Assuming I'm really out of luck, and remember, I'm out of a job, I'm very sick, I'm paying for universities for my children, and I really can't afford this treatment, and it looks like the treatment will go off patent in 1 year. The day I got buried, the product went off patent. My wife didn't fill a prescription. That leads us to the human rights. The question I ask this time is health a right or a privilege? In the human race, or at least in North America, the health has been considered as a right for many years. In the animal kingdom, health is a privilege where only the strongest survive, unless you're a house pet, a farm animal, or you're sitting patiently beyond the bar of a zoo. The world has enough wealth to prevent diseases and infection. Unfortunately, nearly 11 million of humans die unnecessarily every year. In countries where drugs are not available, not accessible, not reimbursed, call it the way you want. In the case of many people on this planet, health is still not a right, and they're fighting for the privilege of equality and hope. You probably noticed how much money was invested or wasted since 2002 to fight demons and shadows in Afghanistan, Iraq, and now Libya. Is this for the cause of human rights? Many years ago, my wife and I have adopted two sons from Eastern Europe. When they were over there, some days health was a right. For some other days it was a privilege. They were reasonably well at the orphanage, but by the time they would have become 18, they would be out on the street where health becomes a privilege again. So I'll leave you with these thoughts and my opponent's arguments.
Thank you, Mark. I too support human health initiatives, however, not at the expense at corporate intellectual property rights. A coordinated human health initiative approach involves other industries in addition to the pharma industry, the food industry, the micronutrient industry, the educational industry. We require a coordinated approach to solve these problems as opposed to expropriating IP rights in order to get there. Let's focus on the solution. Let's focus on incentives, foundations, a coordinated international approach, and by doing that, we will also support innovation.
For my last argument, I'd like to call to the bar my last witness, Mr. Onko Cherchazis. In 1979, Dr. William Campbell, a research scientist working for Merck, discovered evidence that one of the company's drugs might kill the parasite that caused river blindness. River blindness caused by Onko Cherchazis insect is a severe condition that has affected nearly 18 million of African people in the last century. The problem for Merck was the dilemma of developing a very costly or going through the very costly development of a drug for a target population that is very unlikely to pay for the treatment. In 1990, Merck Frost made a controversial decision to move ahead with the program, donate the drug Mectizan to a large-scale population in Africa infected by river blindness. Despite stockholders, investors, and legal advisors, Merck ultimately made a decision that was in the best interest of human rights. So it's been done before. If I was the chairman of the board of a pharmaceutical company, I would largely be evaluated on the financial performance of the organization. Nevertheless, at my funeral, remember I passed out five minutes ago. At my funerals, what would people that have worked with me would say to my children and my widow? What would they be proud of my contribution to this world? We choose to live in a society for the stronger, to be stronger and better organized and to create exception segregations. Assuming one of you has a malaise and crash on the floor, and there is no physician in the room except Dr. Quadri, should I tell myself that I can be sued if I try to help you and doing the wrong things or applied CPR techniques that I've learned? By the way, you're in luck. I had the privilege to brush my teeth this morning.
Merci beaucoup, Marc and Eileen, for your presentation. We'll now proceed to the post-debate vote. As you see, resolve, the House believes corporate intellectual property rights and worldwide human health initiatives must always be mutually exclusive concept. Please begin now. Wow, that's going to take some calculation. Now, I don't know if that's officially declared as a tie or what is happening. I think technically we would have to award the debate to legal counsel for the greatest change, a plus 4%. IMS Brogan to verify the input data. And with that, I would invite Eileen to please accept the second presentation of the Oxford Annual Debate, National Pharmaceutical Mixed Martial Arts Pharmaceutical Industry. Most welcome, most welcome. And I do respectfully remind you the prize protocol that you are required to wear that at all times in the precincts of the property. And I would also just suggest to Joe and to Mitch that perhaps now that they've advanced from the semifinals, we should have our winners back in a head match coming up next year. With that, I thank you and now pass it on to the man himself, Mitch Shannon, president of the Chronicle Group of Companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caudry. And in the spirit of good sportsmanship, I would actually like to give this award to my co-presenter, Mark. Thank you very much, Mark.